Hello and welcome back to another awesome episode of Modeling Mocs. My name is LegoMan71 and we've got a very special episode for you today. Not only is it the 10th official episode of the series, but this video will showcase the largest amount of Mocs I've ever covered in one video at this point in the channel. But it will also be a long, singular, and engaging story. One last thing before we get started, there will be no notes for the building designs, so sorry if you came here for that, but I do encourage you to stay and listen to the story as it progresses. Without further ado, I give you Battle of Bota Magna Part 1. Deep inside a mountainous cave lurk large shadowy figures. Status report, said voice. Scanners pick up a massive surge of transwarp energy, another voice replied. Are we sure it's not another one of those hobbled together pieces of scrap the local skull spaceships entering the system? A third voice asked. No, the energy spike is identical to the one that caused our ship to crash before it stranded us on this rock, the second voice answered. So if they hitched a ride on our transwarp portal, how come they showed up 2.5 years after we crashed? Asked the third. After a pause, the second voice began to speak. I have a theory on that. The first voice interrupted him. I'm sorry, old friend, but we don't have time for another one of your long-winded theories. Contact Scorch and tell him to scout out the site when it crashes. We'll be there soon to meet him. And if we're lucky, keep our war from spreading to this peaceful world. Viglem rushed through the halls of their modular research station, going towards the control tower. Varaxon, the crew's head engineer and inventor, was already there with Neuro, Toa Psionics, staring at the monitors. What's going on? Viglem asked. Our satellite sensors picked up a massive power spike entering the atmosphere, Neuro claimed. Like something just came out of hyperspace. I'll see if I can bring up a visual. As soon as the image was brought up, it had already begun to enter the atmosphere and was covered in flames. I can't make out a good picture, but it's definitely huge. Should we be worried? Viglem asked. Varaxon looked back at the screen. Well, it doesn't look like we're in any immediate danger. Although we'll feel the tremors from the impact, we aren't looking at an extinction level event. Neuro began typing in the computer. According to my calculations, it'll make collision 100 miles southwest of our current location. And judging by the size of that thing, it'll probably take out anything within a 5-mile radius of the crash. Will any of our crew be affected? Varaxon asked. Neuro closed his eyes and raised his hand to his head. No. Voltax's group is still documenting terrain in Sector 6, and our people on the Star Sweeper are still on Sphere's Magna getting supplies for our next several rotations. Viglem chuckled. Who needs an old handy-down communications equipment when you have a top telepath? Varaxon smirked behind his mask. He wasn't the most social of the team, but he did enjoy a good joke when he heard it. I estimate we have an hour and a half till impact. I'll grab my gear and prep the shuttle for a scouting run. As Varaxon continued, Viglem gazed out the window of the control tower. In the distance, he saw a ledge overlooking the research facility. On the ledge, he noticed a creature looking down towards his direction. It was a pyronic raptoid. Viglem then suddenly remembered his first encounter with the species almost a year ago. How as his troop moved along their expedition north, they were followed by a lone raptoid that at the time he assumed was just migrating. He wondered to himself, was this the same one that followed us? Has it been watching us this whole time? His thoughts were interrupted by Neuro asking him about the task at hand. When Viglem looked back at the ledge, the raptoid was gone. Viglem shook it off and joined the others in getting ready for the mission. As the strange meteor crashed to the surface of Bota Magna, high above the clouds, in an old recommissioned Space Command research vessel, Viglem, Neuro, and Varaxon soared above the crash site. Whoa, sure made a mess down there, Varaxon said while piloting the ship. Try and find us a clearing to land, Viglem said. And try not to put us in a swamp this time. As they landed, the three adventurers began to arm themselves with stun rifles Varaxon designed to defend themselves from any raging dinosaurs. As they neared the crater, they could almost see the meteor through the dense brush. But as they got closer, they realized that this was not just a hunk of space rock at all, but a giant, heavily damaged starship. As the troop got closer, they noticed two large creatures coming from around the ship. One was a Dilophosaurus, and the other was a relatively newly discovered species called Metriacanthomagnes. It was one of the species Viglem was in the process of documenting before he was pulled away to tend to this mission. The Metriacanthomagnes was not generally hostile, but was still a dangerous predator. Then, the Dilo spotted them and began charging. Viglem raised his stun rifle and shot a bolt of energy towards the creature. It hit, but the creature wasn't fazed. Viglem fired again, and again, and again, and the creature kept charging. As it closed in, it leapt 10 feet in the air towards Viglem. Viglem ducked just in the nick of time and drew out his plasma blade, and was able to make a small gash in the creature's leg. It snarled in pain. As it growled, a more unnerving sound came from it. It shrieked, and in a rasping voice, it spoke.
"Slag, that hurt. You're going to pay for that insect."
The three were shocked. No creature they had encountered before had the ability to speak. "Spit take, you incompetent fool. Acrocanth's order were not to engage the natives yet."
"Well, it's too late for that, Metro Cannon. These pathetic life forms have seen too much already."
A low growl came from the dinosaur. As the muffled sounds of clanking and turning gears became louder, the beast changed into a large, humanoid robotic form. It drew a strange-looking blaster with 2 tanks and tubes feeding into its barrel. The robot fired a glowing green liquid. Viglem barely managed to move out of its way before the substance hit the ground. As it impacted, Viglem heard a sizzling sound and saw the liquid melting into the ground. When Viglem looked back towards the large robot, its blaster was barely a foot away from his face.
"Let's see you dodge this acid blast."
Viglem closed his eyes as the blaster charged up. Over the whir of the weapon, Viglem heard a familiar reptilian screech followed by the sound of metallic clanging. When he looked back up, Viglem saw a Pyronic Raptoid tackling the robot while its body shifted into another red-clad humanoid robot. "Back off, deceptive creep!" it shouted as it clawed and slashed at the green robot. Finally, the Metriacanthomagnes changed into its true form as well. "That was a poor move, Autobot," it said as it knocked the red robot off the green. "Viglem, come on, we gotta get out of here!" Vraxon yelled. As they ran towards the ship, the first robot, now back in its Dilophosaurus form, pursued them through the jungle, spitting vile acid towards the fleeing crew. Just as they reached the clearing, the Dilo leaped into the air once again as a brown boulder-like tail knocked it off course, and the dinosaur came crashing to the ground. The three stared at a Protocanthus that just saved their lives. It looked from the unconscious Dilo to the forest behind the crew. Viglem turned as he saw a Cryolophosaurus emerge from the trees. It too spoke in a metallic voice. "You three will come with us. We have much to discuss." And that was Battle on Bota Magna Part 1. As always, thank you so much for watching. This video took way longer than expected on the grounds of writing, dealing with college, and getting settled into my first job. I'd like to thank all of you for your patience and support over the last couple of months. Special thanks to my good friend, _Yeet, for letting me include his self-mock Vraxon in this story, and to Blaze Bionicle for providing me the studio file. Make sure to like and comment down below what your favorite mock of this video was, and if you wanted to see a separate video with the notes on any of these mocks. And with all that said, I end the transmission now.
Game over.